Hello, can you hear me? Can you see me? I feel little back here. So my name is Diane Kramer, and I'm really super excited to be here. First of all, because I've been having a day. Have you been having a day? I've been having a day. I have a 15-year-old daughter who called me at 10 o'clock this morning to tell me that she was sick as a dog and I had to come home immediately. So along with all of the other regular chaos of life, I had that going for me. So I did not bring a presentation today. You've just got me in wearing all the clothes. So I find Rotary to be a really special place for me to be at. I was born and raised in North Carolina, and my mom was the director of tourism for our county. So I spent lots of time with the Rotary at meetings just like this, being the little kid that was ducking in and out of tables. And as I've grown up, I've literally found Rotary everywhere. I didn't know that that was a thing when I was a little kid, but Rotarians are everywhere. I meet you in the most interesting places, and today I'm here on your home turf because I wanted to share with you a little bit about me, about my story, and what you can do to help people, especially in this area, who are affected by MS. So in the late summer of 2010, I started losing feeling in my left hand. Kind of like when you sleep on your arm, but it didn't seem to matter how I was sleeping or what was going on. And I started having clusters of headaches. I couldn't seem to break it, couldn't seem to get away from these symptoms. My husband said, I think that you should go see a doctor. I'm a nurse, and I'm better than that. So I said, no, I'm not going to a doctor. I work for a doctor. But it was just getting worse and worse. So finally he said, you're making the appointment and I'm taking you, or threats were being uttered. By the time I got in, I had no feeling on the left side of my body at all. So through a series of appointments and imaging and testing, I just went through the whole gamut of things. I was at work when I received a phone call, and I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, October 6th of 2010. Now, MS is a disease of the central nervous system, and I often explain it like this. Think about Christmas lights, a strand of Christmas lights. In MS, my immune system attacked the coating on those Christmas lights, exposing the wire. So not all of the lights are lighting up the way that they used to when I was fresh out of the box. There's no cure for MS. There are medications that can help slow down that destruction or sometimes even stop it, but I didn't know about any of that when I was diagnosed. 3 months after my diagnosis, my insurance changed, and my disease modifier and my neurologist were no longer covered. I went to another neurologist, and he suggested that I quit my job then to spend what time I had left with my family, and predicted that I would be in a wheelchair within the year. Not long after that appointment, I received a catalog in the mail of durable medical equipment, things like hospital beds and wheelchairs. But there in the back was a small ad for the National MS Society and the website nationalmssociety.org. I connected with a program called the MS Navigators. In the centers of your tables, you have lots of handouts from me. This was another thing that I had to stand here and do because I was a mess this morning and didn't have it together in time. But you have lots of handouts, and one of the most important pieces of information that I'm going to share with you today is this small orange card. It is about the MS Navigators. The MS Navigators are highly trained professionals. They are funded by the National MS Society, and they're available at no cost to anyone affected by MS. The MS Navigators can help people find resources like co-pay assistance programs, support groups, family counselors, literally anything that you can think of. The Navigators operate in all 50 states and are accessible by phone, email, and web chat. I still connect with the Navigators today. In this past year, remember when we had the record-setting heat in July? I have the frayed Christmas lights, and heat is very difficult for me to manage. I had to call them and say, I can't find anywhere that has a cooling vest so that I can just operate on a daily basis and drop my body temperature. The MS Navigators found me somebody that had that. I also called them again when Medicare prescription drug coverage open enrollment began so that I could find somewhere that actually might cover some of the medications that I was on. All these things that you don't think you're going to be doing at 37 years old, or 36 years old, but you're definitely absolutely doing. But way back in 2011, with my initial call, the MS navigators helped me find and self-refer to a comprehensive care center where I still go today. Not only did I start receiving world-class care there, but there was research going on. Relevant problem solving was happening too. In an interesting twist, my neurologist, who I still see, had received a fellowship in neuroimmunology at the Johns Hopkins Hospital with the support of the Sylvia Lowry Physicians Fellowship from the National MS Society. Fundraising 15 years prior was having an impact on my life right then. I started receiving Momentum magazine, the quarterly publication of the National MS Society. Inside there was relevant and relatable information and personal stories that were being shared. We downloaded and printed the resource Keep Smiling, the magazine of the National MS Society that's geared towards kids 5 to 12 years old. It's an engaging and reassuring publication that's available at no cost, and we were able to share it not only with our daughter, who was just starting kindergarten when I was diagnosed, but also with teachers in area schools. In 2012, with a new disease modifier treatment on board and goals for the future to work towards, I started running, with the blessing and encouragement of my care team, but mostly out of spite for that doctor and his wheelchair prediction. I ran that year not only the Hershey Half Marathon and countless 5K races, but I started logging 500 miles a year. I was so impacted by how the MS Society had touched my life on so many different levels that I wanted to pass it on. I wanted to pay in my sweat equity. We as a family felt it was really important to pass on the information that we were receiving and fight our fight transparently so everyone knew what was going on. But we wanted to start raising money too. So our family formed a Walk MS team, and my husband came up with the name The Myelinators. Our team annually walks the event here in State College, and each year we raise our fundraising goal a little bit higher, and we meet it. We walk to raise not just awareness of MS, but of the programs and the resources available to help people like me live their best lives. The Myelinators also bike MS. Our first team was comprised of my two bosses, the Drs. Luton of Blair Plastic Surgery, and the members of our nursing team in 2012. I stood at the finish line that year, and I invite all of you to come and do this. This year will be the 25th anniversary of the Glimsher Keystone Country Ride. It is July 18th and 19th, the hardest weekend of the year. You can find it. And we start off from Hollidaysburg High School and ride 75 miles into State College. We come in at the Penn State Conference Center, and if you don't get to do anything else MS related this year, just come and be at the finish line. It is the coolest experience. So my first year, I had people that were riding for me, and I didn't know what to expect. So I just went, we went to the finish line, and we had made signs, we were really excited, and that year there were over 600 riders that came in. And watching person after person come across, they might not know me personally, but these people are on my team and they have my back. It's incredible to be part of that experience. But that year, my first year at the finish line, I watched everybody come across. I was back there at 6 o'clock the next morning to watch them go back to Hollidaysburg, and I drove to Hollidaysburg, watched them come in at Hollidaysburg, and I said, that's it. If I can walk next year, I'm riding next year. So I did. I bought a bike off of Amazon. I had never seen it before or anything. It was called a GMC Denali, and I'm pretty sure it weighed just about as much. I was certain that because I was running all the time that this was enough training. It was not. But if I can manage to pull that off, just about anybody could ride, I think. I'm a more dedicated rider today. So I started riding. And on day one of the ride, I wear my Myelinators jersey. And on day two, I wear a special jersey that says, I ride with MS. And I try and catch as many people as I can to tell them thank you. Thank you for riding for somebody like me. Thank you for riding for my future. Thank you for riding for the mission of the MS Society, that we can end MS. And it's a really incredible experience. For me, it's a touchstone that I can do this another year. So I started riding in 2013, and I rode every year, but 2015 would mark the beginning of a really challenging 2-year period for me. I would have multiple MS flares in 2015, new lesions, new areas of damage in my brain. I would have my first MS-related hospitalization. I would begin to rely so heavily, not just on my clinical care team and my local allies and the MS navigators, but on other society resources too. I stopped running marathons and I started using walking sticks to get me through my hardest days. But we fought on, and we started rehabbing, and I started recuperating, and I started adjusting to this new course. Now, while we were raising money, I wanted to be able to give back in a different way too. I started volunteering for research trials. We have an incredibly rich legacy of research in the National MS Society, especially when you consider that the society was funded in 1946, and in 1947, we would have our first 3 clinical studies begin. The National MS Society has to date funded over $1 billion in research for multiple sclerosis. For me, I've taken medication that shows promise for remyelination, the restoration of that insulation on the Christmas lights. I've tracked all my food and activity to explore diet's impact on MS. I've had extensive imaging and tests done to investigate early warning signs of MS in the effort to identify and stop MS before it ever starts. This past fall, I volunteered for a study right here at Penn State, looking at a new tool for treating depression in people with MS. A study in our own backyard, funded by the National MS Society, that is having a worldwide impact. This morning, along with all the other things, I signed the consents for my 16th research study. Beyond the MS Navigators, the website full of relevant and up-to-date information, there's also connection programs that are available through the National MS Society. There are virtual and physical support groups where I can share exactly what struggles I'm facing and celebrate my triumphs too. After identifying the need for a support group here in State College, I was trained by the MS Society on how to best facilitate that group. And on January 9th, we had our first meeting. The Society also sponsors other in-person events like Pathways to a Cure, which is an educational program that talks all about research breakthroughs over the past year and what people affected by MS can do right now to positively impact their health. For the first time ever, Pathways is going to be held right here in State College, and actually right here in the Ramada, in April. No one fights alone is the motto of the Myelinators, inspired by the pitfalls of my early diagnosis. I share my story because I want to open up a conversation. I want to help others affected by MS make a connection where their resources are available. And one of the reasons why I came here today was so that I could ask you to come alongside me and the rest of the MS community and be our MS allies. The MS community is strong, it's resilient, and it takes the golden rule of loving your neighbor as yourself to the whole next level. MS allies from the Center region have traveled to out-of-state appointments with me. They have promoted our local MS Connection group by coming to my house, picking up flyers, and taking them to their own doctor's appointments when I could not go and physically see that doctor and say, there's a new MS Connection group, maybe you want to tell some people about it. They have invited me into their own workplaces to say, hey, can you talk for 5 minutes about MS, what it is, and how it affects people and what people can do now? Yes, yes I can. Our allies build connections by connecting people that have MS to each other also. As we are sitting here, I'm getting messages on my phone. People are still being diagnosed with MS. It's still happening. And they don't know what to do, and they're still not being given the information at diagnosis. Like, there's people you can talk to, there's resources, and so because I talk about this a lot, people find me on Facebook, and I'm literally sitting here getting messages from, you don't know me, we've never met, I heard that you know something about MS. Literally happening right now. This is a weekly occurrence. We have to do better. We have to connect people better. So I've worked hard to gain back the ground that I've lost since that lowest point in 2015. But I really live with so much uncertainty. I'm like that cell phone charger that looks okay, but just doesn't seem to work quite right. I have days that I can't stand, days I can't walk. I have days that I can't see clearly, or nights where I can't get the pain from my misfiring nerves to stop so I can rest. I continue to struggle with MS-related fatigue. I continue to battle insurance companies and the pre-authorization red tape. MS allies are essential to me in my everyday life, if only just to listen to me and hear me say, I'm not okay, or I need some help. In 2019, we learned through an MS Society-backed study that about 1 million people in the United States are affected by MS, twice as many as originally thought. Our MS allies stood beside us and promised to help, and the MS community realized then that we had twice as many allies as we originally thought too. 2020 is a particularly important year for me. I've been marking the milestone of 1 decade since I was diagnosed with MS. I've set the highest fundraising goal that I've ever had, and I'm riding in 3 Bike MS events in 2 states to mark this event. I'm fighting harder than ever before because there are still people being diagnosed with MS, there is still work to be done, and there's still connections to be made. So I've given you lots of information, resource sheets, MS Navigator cards, information about the State College MS Connection Group, and dates of upcoming events. You can find out about more of any of these items online, and I invite you all to connect with me personally. I'm on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, and my email is on just about everything that's there, because I look forward to getting to know you all a little bit better, and I cannot tell you how much it means to be able to come somewhere like here and share my story today. So I'd love to give you all a chance to ask any questions that you might have, and I really thank you for listening to me share my story.